All right, welcome everyone back to Loose Lugnuts on the YouTube Lugnut TV. We're back here with a podcast segment. First time in a long time. We'll get to that section of why it's been so long here shortly. But I want to introduce my co-host here this evening, Katie Dugas. Say hi, Katie.
Hey y'all.
All right, Katie's first time at the podcast here. We'll give her some breaking in room. I really haven't informed her real well of what we're doing, but we'll get to it. Where's the podcast been? Creative influences and internet and me living out in the boonies have left it to the wayside lately. So that's where it's been. It's going to come back. We may not do it every week. We may not even interview a driver every week, but we're going to try to get it out on Mondays. That way we have something to talk about, something to learn about from the Loose Lugnuts Racing League. So we'll go ahead and kick it off. Um, Nothing's really changed. We're all going to talk about is Lugnuts and the people we have in here. So we're in the midst of our summer series. Last few weeks with the trucks, the Xfinity cars, the Cup cars on Sunday. It's been a blast. We've seen a lot of rookies. Katie can attest to that too. Um, we'll go ahead and talk about rookies since this is what the league owner John Hedrick was all about. Was about getting new blood into the league, seeing how it worked. Uh, Katie's husband, Topper, one of those rookies, or at least rookie numbered, on the asphalt side of things, doing really well, showing up to races, committing. Katie, how's that been for Top, if you can speak on his behalf?
I think it's been exciting. We got to hear a little bit from him on Sunday, I believe, in the cup race, and he enjoys this so much. He actually started out with all this wanting to do more dirt, and lately it seems he's had a little more fun on the asphalt side. I think it's showing him a lot more patience and, being able to sit back and racing with some really good guys. I think it's advancing his driving, a little faster than we thought.
Yeah, most definitely that is the key for the rookies. And not everyone's going to fit into the league. If you're listening out there and you're one of those rookies, Ken Richardson, a rookie in the last fall winter series, came out, won some races, competed in the playoff sections, got his full-time number, hasn't had a successful run at the summer series, but so goes it sometimes. We're glad to see Ken Richardson come back from race to race, and a lot of the other guys too that did that. He was just one of the guys top the book. But going on with the rookie thing, we have family members in here. The Shaws, Chris Chief Shaw, Kendall Shaw, who's just got into the league. Both rookies. Chris Shaw showing outstanding patience, like Topper, to do the same thing. Um, and not to mention also for the rookies and the main drivers too of the summer series. Whatever division you run in, all three, one or whatever your purpose may be here inside of Loose Lug Nuts, it, it's summer. You're going to miss races, unfortunately. I think the only guy out there besides maybe uh, Topper to run most of the divisions is Kyle Chadwick, who's, a full-time guy, and he's leading most of the points just based off a 43-point standing starting or ending with first place. So that's what we have there for our rookies. Rookies continue to come out, show what you can. If you're a good fit and you're a great fit, you'll know it. Sometimes, like Katie said, you just need to show a little bit of patience. So as we wrap up tonight, we're actually recording this on a Thursday, and we got Dover this week at uh, the trucks, Xfinity, and Cup car. That's gonna be challenging on the mile and the high banking and close contact. Coming off of turn 2 and 4 at that track can be difficult. We'll see some of that tonight. As always, on the American Sim Network, we'll have that live broadcasting with Matt Egan and myself. But, we just did some fun dirt racing. First time we've seen dirt in a long while here at Loose Lug Nuts. The Blow By Racing Series, the that team moving on. But beyond that, it was still great racing, and we saw a ton of huge names. And Katie, I know you have notes upon notes on this. Uh, Tell us some of the names we're seeing out there inside of Loose Lug Nuts now that have transferred over, and we'll get to that series coming up. But that blow blight with the late model, the dirt late model, it was fun to watch. Those guys getting sideways in corners, Knoxville, even at Lanier down on the short track that usually isn't dirt. It was a hell of a time. Tell us about some of those guys and what it meant to see dirt racing inside of Loose Lugnuts.
I mean, coming from the dirt side, I have to say it was really exciting on my end. Coming in Friday night, we saw big names. We saw Howard Weaver, we saw Bailey Cardwell, Zach McSwain, Cody Howard, Jeremy Capron. I mean, huge names that you see on these pro circuits running around, and they were running, with us here at Loose Lug Nuts on a Friday night on a summer series, which, like I said, is just super exciting on this end.
Yeah, it's a big build up for Loose Lugnuts, at least for short track racing standard and dirt side of it. Guys that you can see sometimes competing on the World of Outlaw setting on the iRacing portal, trying to get their name out there. So we got big names inside of Loose Lugnuts. Blow by Racing and with the conjunction of Loose Lugnuts. That series was fun. Now we've moved on from that, and we got a new series, all based on Loose Lugnuts now. The American Thunder Dirt Series. It's a little bit fall series. 8 races coming up. We're one race in after Knoxville. We're going to end back at Knoxville too, but a lot of fun tracks. We've upped the ante with the super late model dirt car. Still the same big names. We'll build back up a few extra drivers during this uh, season, but Katie, I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen a little bit of picturing of the trophy that's going to go out for this fall series for that dirt, and it is one heck of a trophy. Have you seen it?
I have not.
All right. If you're new to Loose Lug Nuts or this podcast or any type of Loose Lug Nut history, over the top paints and designs by our owner John Hedrick. Awesome paints, best on iRacing out there. I know Katie dabbles in her stuff too, but commending John, what he does with these diecast cars, I think it's one of the most unique prizes out there in Loose Lug Nuts. So if that's on the line, those guys, if you're hearing this and you want to step up to the plate and maybe get yourself a dirt diecast, that is going to be super fun. I know Top's going to be after it too, Katie.
That he will. It would look mighty nice in our race room, I can tell you that.
All right. I mean, that's probably all we got here on Loose Lug Nuts going on. Remember, Thursday trucks. Uh, Friday we have our dirt series. That's now at the regular scheduled time, I believe 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be kicking off those rooms. Saturday Xfinity Series. That's not broadcasted for right now. We may come back to it here on Lug Nuts, being with one of our partnerships of American Sim Network or Max Speed TV. We'll see what that future beholds. Sunday Cup Series, that's always there. And a little bit of new sprinkling here in the fall season coming up. Next week, the kickoff officially to the Kick and Asphalt Super Late Models. It's basically a short track, 5 flags, Lanier USA International Speedway, the non-dirt one, now the original one. So we got that coming up. Uh, I failed to mention our sponsors for the dirt side. Well, not sponsors, but the guys that run it, like Brandon Thornhill on Friday night, and believe Kevin Winter will be dropping in as the admin there on the Tuesday session that is for the Kick and Asphalt Super Late Models starting August 20th. Uh, those will probably be up and hosted with a password selected, so get on Facebook. No Facebook for Loose Lug Nuts Racing. That's how you'll stay informed of all this. But with this coming up, where we're almost ending the main series here at Loose Lug Nuts, be watchful, like I said, on Facebook for preseason fall action. We'll get some schedules up, maybe some pictures next time. If you're not listening to this on a car ride, you're just watching for fun on YouTube. We'll have to see. But we'll switch over here to Katie real quick. Now, we talked about already about Top being a rookie. That's grand and all, but let's go to the side of what it means to do something like this. I mentioned families racing, but you're not necessarily racing. You've taken on many roles with a Pit Pass. Tell us about Pit Pass, first of all.
Well, Pit Pass was kind of something I started on the side because I knew there were some people, like my son down in Louisiana that races with us occasionally. He couldn't always catch our broadcast. So I tried to do a play by play, basically, from the pit side of what really goes on in the race. I mean, I've been told it's extremely detailed, and I get that it kind of is a long read, but I try to make it as intricate as I can. And I mean, bringing in every possible name that I can, really shining the spotlight on some of these, drivers that you might not hear every day. So I like putting that out there, and it's literally a play by play of what you will see during the race, just like you are sitting in the stands, you're in the pits, or even in the car. I mean, I really want to take you back to that environment that you can just feel what's going on.
Yeah, and not only that, you got pit pass going on, and it's great. Like you said, it's really detailed. And if you're not, eyes on the race, or maybe even listen to the podcast at this point, if we're talking about certain races, uh, you can always look at Pit Pass presented by ASN. They got their own Facebook page. Go check them out. You can always see them posted up there. Now you got ASN. You're deeply involved with Lugnuts with that at least too. But then you're doing this announcing. You're here on the podcast with me, and you're doing some announcing on Friday nights for the Dirt Series at Lugnuts and Anarchy Motorsports with ASN.
I am. I've gotten my hands into quite a few places, but with me being at home, this gives me something really fun to do, and it really is all about, family for me. I love being involved in this, and my kids sit back and watch. I can sit and watch him race over my shoulders, and this gives us another way to connect, since we're not working on an actual car. This gives us something, to do together.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent here, at least inside of Loose Lugnuts. I love seeing friends, family get involved. You mentioned Lane now starting to race too. Uh, it's going to be a fun time. Good to see, and I hate to say this, a female perspective in the broadcast booth or any type of talking of where we go back and forth with opinions. We had a female early on in Loose Lugnuts history, Rachel. She went on. She wasn't the best driver. If she's listening out there, sorry, you really weren't. We nicknamed you Danica for a reason. Beyond that, she's actually evolved her career. She has a good English accent voice, and she can do some of the road stuff over there on a pretty big network that I can't remember doing, the European side of things. So, speak to if you can for a moment of being a female and at least new to the broadcast booth.
Oh, I'm definitely new to the broadcast booth, and if you go back and listen to some of my earlier stuff, you can definitely tell. For somebody as outgoing and loud as I am, I kind of panicked getting into that predicament. But I've been around racing, not so much the NASCAR side as, I watched it with my dad a bunch as a kid, and that was something we shared growing up. But, the dirt side is really my go-to element because I mean, me and Top basically built a car together and raced it while we were in Louisiana, and coming up here to Wisconsin, it gives you a total change. I mean, we're snowed in 3/4 of the year, so this let him race, and now that Lane's on it, it gives them something really to hang back on, and they can hang out and race just like we would back down there. So it's a different perspective for sure, but like I said, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and we'll continue to ask that, but it's always nice to get Katie's perspective on things. New to this booth, new to the podcast. So we'll get those driver perspectives eventually on this podcast going forward. Like I said, it may not be every week, but maybe every other week, and especially with my stuff coming up here towards the middle of September, where I'll be absent for a week. So we'll try to get stuff planned out. We're doing this on a Thursday, so we got a long time for Jeff and his slow editing purposes. So we got that. Again, be mindful out there, loose lug nuts. This is still the summer series. It's not a trophy series in any way. I'm not even sure it's going to go down in the official aspect of loose lug nuts history on the Dana Lisa side. That I set up a long time ago. We'll have to talk to John and see if John will at least let me become the historian and start porting over some of these races that we see here. We'll get that all in the future. That is the future. Be like I said, available on Facebook if you can. Hopefully, our admins get better about posting races ahead of time outside of this Thursday Truck Series. You hear me, admins? Get on that. List all your races. I know it's hard to change sometimes when iRacing constantly does updates, but some of the drivers don't have Facebook. Also, like I said, be on the iRacing portal. Maybe we'll start sending out messages like some of the other leagues do. Katie, first time on the podcast. What do you think?
I think it's pretty neat, especially if you're going to bring in drivers. I mean, I find that really enticing because I love sitting back listening to a good podcast. So hearing, the third party voices, as I like to call them, going back and looking in at things, I think it's really exciting. So I can't wait.
Yep. I mean, we had some good drivers on in the past. We'll look to see what we have out there. Again, shout out to all our rookies uh, this season, our competitors that have stuck around, that have been able to stick around. We know real life situations come first here, uh, but we'll get on to some more interesting topics next time here on the podcast. We're going to go ahead and end it. Like I said, short segment here to get you hooked in for the future. Uh, we'll check back in on a later date, and big thank you to Katie for showing up. This has been Lugnut TV. Check us out here on YouTube. Stay in tune, like I said, to that Facebook page. We'll talk to everyone next time.